America always panics at the sound of truth. And she has to stop that. She has to stop that. And have you noticed that whenever America learns something new, Jay, about us, she always gets nervous? As long as we stay within the parameters of the expected, she's fine. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I went on a cruise last year, and I'm sitting there, went on one of those pirate cruises, and over somewhere. And so I'm there, and they were playing this pop music, and I was just sitting there, and they were playing pop music and the white people's music, amen. And then toward the end of the little trip, they started playing some R&B. So I'm still chilling. So some white people get on the floor of the boat, and then one big fat white guy turns to me, now not bothering anybody, turns to me and says, "Come on, why don't you show us how to do it?" Well, bud, now you haven't asked me to do anything. You know, all the other activities, you know, when they were having game shows and quizzes, you know, where you had to do a little mathematic and maybe, to verbalize or re-verbalize some history or stuff like that. He never asked me to participate. He did not know that that I have 3 or 4 degrees. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't know that I'm a businessman, I'm a developer, I'm a designer. No, the only thing he sees is a new day, step and fetch it. And all he sees is, you're the only black one here, so obviously you're the one that's going to teach us how to dance. No, no. And I said to him, I'm straight. And when I said to him, I'm straight, it just seemed like a hush comes over the whole boat. You understand? Because Bojangles is not going to be jangling any bows. You understand what I'm saying? America always, when we step out of or deviate from the norm of her perception of us, she always panics. Listen, when we came here as a people, and I'm going to tell the truth, the truth is the whites purchased us. So if they purchased us, that means somebody had to sell us. So it was our people, it was our forefathers they sold us. But they bought us, Susie, because they saw value in us. It's not like they were buying or purchasing damaged goods in the first place. And when we got here, they saw more than what our hands could do. They saw our head because we were a disciplined people. We were a people full of custom and tradition. We had a doctrine as a people. And they saw that we had a head, and they saw we had a head that was full of ideas. And when they got us here, what they decided to do was to attempt to beat ideas out of our heads. Because, Alice, the reality is, they saw that one of these days that we might have the ability to reason our way out of this prison. Yeah, and then security, they learned one day we can learn, and they panicked. I said they learned. Come on, preachers. They learned that we could learn, and then they panicked. And so it was against the law to teach us how to read, and they would beat up their own relatives. Massa would whip his own sons and daughters for sneaking out in the outhouses and the huts to teach us how to read under candlelight. Panic, panic, panic. Then they found out that we could think and choose for ourselves. They panicked and decided they would not allow us to vote. Somebody say panic. Yeah. Listen, they found out that Paul Robeson could sing and say. They found out Paul Robeson could act and take action. In the 1930s, he went on tour with a theater group, went on tour to Russia, and he said, for the first time in my life, I feel really free. Does that sound familiar? And out of that statement, they decided to panic. Exiled him, blackballed him. Well, they learned that one day we couldn't just fight. They learned we could box. Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight in history, he won the title in 1908 from a guy named Tommy Burns because Jim Jeffries wouldn't fight him because he was black. But he won it from Tommy Burns, but they would not give him the title until 1910, until he fought Jim Jeffries. Panic, panic, panic. Then he whipped Jim Jeffries. Panic, panic, panic. And they set forth a law that would not allow any movies or films to be played of Jack Johnson knocking the out of any white man. They panicked. Then they found out that white women liked Jack Johnson. So then they put a law on the books that made it illegal, honey, for a black man to transport a white woman across state lines. Panic, panic, ran him out of the country. Panic. Whenever we are about to destroy their pigs, they always panicked. Then they learned that we could achieve academically and compete with them side by side. So in 1963, George Wallace down in Alabama, he panicked. Stood in front of the door of the school and swore before God and everybody that a nigger would never go to school with the white kids in the state of Alabama. Panic! America, don't hold this against Michael Bell. I love you. I'm just speaking truth. Then they learned that we could stand up by sitting down. December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks showed them that we can stand up by sitting down. Bus driver went to her as she was sitting in her own section. And I don't know whether or not you all know it, but the law then, the law about segregation on the bus never mandated that a person get up and give somebody a seat that they already occupy. But he goes to her, sitting in her own section, says to get up. She says, sir, I will not. He said, I'm going to call the police. She said, well, sir, you just do that. And what did America do? Because what she was doing was she was showing that that demon of circumambulation, that demon of sorrow, and that demon of self-hatred had been cast out, had to go somewhere, went into the pig of segregation. But after she stood her ground, they saw Mr. Blake, the bus driver, saw that pig drowning. And he panicked, and they called the law and started on December the 6th, started the boycott. Oh, help me here. And all that boycott was about, it was just drowning and killing some more of America's unclean wicked pigs for profit.